Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Coding with Roby. And in this video, we're going to be going over a top interview question for software engineers. And just to start, these things are not easy. So if you want to pause the video after I display the question so you can try it on yourself before seeing the solution, feel free to do so. And right before we jump in, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you are up to date on new videos and when they're released. So without further ado, let's jump into this coding interview question. Hey everybody, and welcome to Coding with Roby. And in this series, we'll be going over how to solve coding exercises off of Leetcode. And in this video, we'll be solving question number 1, which is toSum. Now the toSum question is given an array of integers, nums, and an integer target, return indices of two numbers such they add up to target. You may assume that each input would have exactly one solution, and you may not use the same element twice. You can return the answer in any order. So for example 1, they're inputting nums, which is a list of 2, 7, 11, and 15, and trying to get a target of 9. And the output should be 0 and 1. Okay, so this is pretty self-explanatory. So they're going to pass in a number of target, and we need to see which two numbers within an array is going to be equal to that number that we're passing in. So for example, this target is 6, so 2 and 4 equals 6. Now the constraints is 2 is always going to be less than or equal to nums.length, which is less than 104. And only one valid answer exists. So once we find an answer, just return that one answer, and each element cannot be used twice. And this is more or less the function and class that they give you automatically. So we need to solve the equation within these parameters of this function. So we have our self, which is just passing in the class, our nums, which is the list, and the target. And we need to return the list, just like the examples in the solution show. Now I think the best way to solving this is using a dictionary, because using a dictionary we can loop through and check the items a little bit easier. So I'm going to start by creating an empty dictionary called sum dictionary, which is equal just to empty curly brackets. And now we want to loop through the nums list that they're passing through. So we can say for I in our length of nums, but then that's going to give us a list that is one element higher. That's because if there's 6 elements in the list, we only want to loop through 0 through 5. So I'm going to wrap the range function around the length of the nums. So now it's going to go from 0 to 5 instead of trying to hit the max elements within the nums. And now let's check to see if nums is in our sum dictionary, which is going to always return false the first time, but this is how we're going to be checking, hey, if this number is already in the dictionary, then let's return the dictionary number plus our new number. But for now, we're just going to be writing a sum dictionary, which is going to be subtracting the number that we're getting passed in. So let's start by saying if nums of our I is in sum dictionary, then let's return our sum dictionary nums of I, comma I. And then else sum dictionary from the target minus nums of I equals I. Alright, now that actually should solve the entire equation. Let's pass in some of the parameters. So I'm going to say print s.toSum, and I'm going to pass in a list of 2, 7, 11, and 15 with a target of 9. And let's just run this application real quick just to double check. So we can right click and say run solution. We get 0 and 1 as the solution. And that's because we are looping through and our first index of list is 2 and our second index of the list is 7, which is going to return the target of 9. Let's try another one, but this time let's make sure the first two indices of the list are not the solution. So I'm going to say 3, 2, 4 with a target of 6. If we run this solution, we are going to see 0 and 1 for the first answer, which is going to be the target of 9. And for the second one, we're going to see 1 and 2, which is going to be really the second and third indices of this list, which is going to be the target of 6 if we add these two numbers together. So this works, and if we want to walk through it a little bit slower so you can really see what's happening, I'm going to put a breakpoint on the list that we're looping through, and I'm going to debug this program. And here we can see that we are calling this toSum application. We already have our dictionary, which is equal to an empty dictionary. And we are currently looping through the range of our lengths of nums. So here we are in the first step where we're checking if nums of I is in the sums dictionary, which it currently isn't. So nums of I is not in the sum dictionary because the dictionary is empty. So let's skip over the return, go to the else, and let's add a number within the sum dictionary. Now target, which is the number that we're trying to hit, is 9. So we can see down here that target is equal to 9. And then we're going to say minus nums of I. And nums of I, which is currently 0, is going to be equal to the value of 2. So we're going to save in the sums dictionary I, which is equal to this equation, which is going to be 7. So we can currently see in our sum dictionary that we have one element which is equal to the value of 7. Now if we say if nums of I is in sums dictionary, which this time it is, the value of 7 is the second element within the list, then let's just return the last two elements, which is the current element and the last element that's currently saved in the dictionary. And that's where we print these information. And if we want to go through it again, we can see that we have a 3, 2, 4, and a target of 6 this time, where we're going to check to see if the first element of 3 is in the dictionary. It is not, so we're going to add it to the sum dictionary. And then we're going to jump back up to the list, where we now have a value of 2. Is 2 in this dictionary? It is not, so let's go back here, but this time let's subtract the two numbers. And now we're going to have an element within our dictionary of 3 and 4. And now we know that the last element is going to be 4, so we have 4 and 4, so 4 minus 4 is equal to 0, so we're going to return this new element of 4 and the last element of 2. And there we have it. We have our solution. So if we go back into our terminal and we run it without the breakpoint, we can see that our debug solution matches what we just went over. This wraps up this first question of toSum, and I'll see you in the next video.